Well, hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about our rogue nation status, among other things. But I think I might as well start with that. Um, the Make America Healthy Again initiative is doing endless horrible things. After firing the people who would approve vaccines. They have decided to move away from the measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella chickenpox vaccine and flu shots containing thimerosal. They're going to be investigating unfounded conspiracy theories about these things to prevent them from being available in the future. And they say he will attack and dismantle the federal government's scientifically rigorous, evidence-based vaccine recommendations. So that's continuing. Now, somehow the twice-a-year plot shot to prevent HIV was approved because I guess that was approved by the FDA, which is not directly controlled by RFK Jr. So he'll probably find a way to kill that, but he hasn't killed it yet. And Trump shuttered the only federal agency that investigates industrial chemical explosions, which apparently happen about every other day in America. I didn't know that.
Really?
Yes, and apparently there's an agency to investigate it, like airplane crashes, but not anymore. And the EPA has told staff to stop policing the oil and gas industry. That's certainly consistent with Trump. Remember, he said the first priority is drill, baby, drill, make more oil and gas, and who cares about safety and pollution and all that. And they're planning to axe, there's a 988 suicide hotline for LGBTQ youth, which is
Right.
really important, I think. They say it has had more than 1.3 million contacts since it started in 2022. And that's a group of people that are at great risk of suicide. So they really need it, but they're not going to have it. And now, the one that really caught my attention, Trump's EPA is going to reconsider the ban on asbestos. I didn't know this, but in addition to Trump's many insane ideas, he thinks that asbestos is not bad for you and they should totally be using it in buildings and it's all just a scam to get rid of the asbestos. And apparently there's a form of asbestos that hasn't yet been banned in America, and they were going to ban it, and now he's going to stop that. White
Yeah,
asbestos or something.
Sam, this is from years ago, but I learned that there are kind of two types of asbestos. There are long fibers and short fibers.
I assume
And
they're both bad for you, but I don't really know.
now I believe, as I recall, the long fibers are not as bad, but it's the short fibers.
Oh, well,
So, but
maybe
that's all I can remember.
maybe he's actually right, although I highly doubt it.
Well, he's half right.
Yeah, but anyway, there's been a study seeing about the U.S. image. You remember one of Trump's many promises is nations are laughing at us. They're going to respect us once I'm in charge. And the opposite has happened to an amazing extent. Pew Research did a survey of the American image in other nations, and it is just amazing, showing that the USA is underwater. More people distrust us than trust us in every nation, except for five out of like 24 they surveyed. Hungary and Israel, obviously. But I was
Okay.
surprised to see that India still thinks very favorably of us. I would think that
What?
it will plummet now because I assume the reason they like us is because all of their people can come here and work, and that's not going to be true anymore. And the
Yeah.
only people that really like us are Nigeria and Kenya. I don't know why, but maybe they're sending workers here too. I don't know.
I
But
wonder, for Nigeria, I wonder if it's the oil industry.
maybe,
There's a
maybe,
lot of
yeah.
oil. Yeah.
Maybe we're involved with that. Anyway, it's also amazing to watch how much our favorability has declined in the last year. Just when Trump got back in, it's dropped by double digits in almost every country, up to 30 and above 30%. This is just what all of us on the left predicted. Everybody who read Project 2025 predicted Trump has turned us into a rogue nation. We are like North Korea. We are completely financially corrupt. We don't obey our own laws internally. We betray all our allies. We ignore all our agreements. Trump has even canceled the agreements that he made in his first term. And we hate all immigrants out of pure racism based on no justice at all. So, of course, everybody hates us except, and by, our allies are going to be Russia and North Korea now, apparently. Although there's a very entertaining North Korea propaganda video came out. Trump's been writing love letters to the leader of North Korea again, and he's refused to take them. And they put out a propaganda video that I was 90% accurate. It showed a picture of Trump at the military parade saying his pathetic military parade as he sits next to a high-priced prostitute, wasting money on himself while his people are losing their jobs and failing. And it's pretty much all accurate. I mean,
Wait,
they would make up lies if they had to, but they don't have to make up lies to criticize the Trump administration.
so who put out the video? The
North
North
Korea,
Koreans?
North Korea propaganda ministry. And they've had them before. I've seen, you used to have ones like I saw one 10 years ago where it's just completely full of lies. It shows this guy walking down the street in Washington, D.C. and say everyone in America is hooked to heroin. This man is trying to dig through the trash to find food. Then he's waiting in line to get his shot of heroin from the government and stuff like that. It was just awful stuff. But now all they did is say pretty much the truth about Trump.
And is that on YouTube? Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah. I just posted a link to it a while ago. I can send it to you. I didn't put
Sure.
it in the news, but it's interesting to watch. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So, Sam, let's see, you touched on one. You know, what's interesting is the dollar has been the currency everybody wants, right?
Not anymore, I think.
Not anymore, right? I've heard that pesos or companies that want to
Oh,
be paid in pesos.
I would have
And
thought it would be either the euro or the Chinese
yeah,
currency, but
no, the two that I've heard have been euros and pesos.
Mexican
And
pesos?
yeah, yeah,
Is the Mexican government and economy actually stable and good? I guess it might be. I know their leader is extremely popular. Claudia
yes.
Steinbaum or something has like 90% popularity, and she's basically a socialist, but she's very loved in Mexico. So right now, I think their morale is pretty high.
Yeah, so you know, I wonder, I guess not, but would it have anything to do with the tariffs? I don't think so.
I would imagine that the tariffs hurt Mexico and Canada as much as they've hurt us. I don't think they're a positive for anybody.
Yeah, but I wonder if it would make more sense to be paid in pesos if you're crossing the border
Oh, that
than
might
in
be true.
dollars.
Yes,
Would
well,
it?
I think that's true, and I think Americans that are traveling are already saying that the dollar doesn't go very far anymore. It's
Well,
falling
yeah,
behind.
that's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so
So,
probably if you were going to save your money in pesos, it would probably retain value better than saving
yeah,
it in dollars. That I can believe.
yeah. And do you have any idea what the dollar is worth against the euro?
No, I don't know right now, but I think it's been
Uh,
falling, and I think it's anyone with any sense predicts it's going to fall for the next 4 years because Trump is not moving an inch on his immigration or tariff procedures because I think he really believes the lies he says. He really believes that the immigrants are voting Democrat and they're committing crimes and we have to kick them all out. And he really believes that tariffs bring money into America because other nations pay them.
yeah, so the dollar was pretty close to being on par. And right now, it's down to, it's down 12%.
It used to be, yeah, yeah, well,
It
that doesn't,
used to be about 1 to 1 or a
yeah,
little, yeah,
yeah, I don't know
yeah.
how to interpret it. I'm not that kind of expert, but I
I'm not
expect,
either.
but I mean, another thing, I just saw a guy today on Mastodon yelling at a woman who was going to have an information security meetup saying, don't encourage people to go in InfoSec. I'm losing my house. I'm losing my car. You can't get a job in InfoSec. It's a terrible career. We shouldn't be encouraging any students to go into it. And I've seen reports like that. I think that's probably all true in America. And I think that's true of IT in general. Well, you're talking about it last time. The IT uh, degrees are among the most worthless right now. And I think that's
Yeah.
because of Elon Musk and all the layoffs. But I think that's temporary. I think in about 2 years it'll turn around. But nothing in America will get good until Trump leaves because he's got these policies that simply destroy the economy.
Yeah. Well, you know, cybersecurity is something that we need. You need security, but it's also a money loser.
Right. And I think everybody is tightening their belt and cutting back on everything right now
Yeah.
because you can't make any plans for the future since Trump just keeps changing his policies on immigration and tariffs every couple of days. Like finally, an article came out today that finally cleared this up for me. Remember, like a week ago, Trump sent ICE saying you have to just grab people out of everywhere, restaurants and farms and everywhere. and Home Depot to get all the immigrants. And then like 3 days later, he said, "Well, don't take it from the uh, hospitality and the farms because those guys are my friends and they need the workers." But 3 days later, he did reverse it and say, "Nope, forget all that. Just grab them everywhere you can." And so apparently he has decided he doesn't care about destroying the farms and hospitality and elder care and other people, things that need the immigrants. He's back to believing that you must deport all the immigrants because they're all just like rapists and murderers or whatever he believes about them. So,
So,
but I mean, the fact that's a terrible policy. But what's even worse is you just keep changing it every few days, so nobody knows what's going on. So I don't think
yeah.
the ICE agents know what they're supposed to do. I don't think their superiors know what they're supposed to do. I don't think any of the employers know what they're supposed to do.
So, Sam, you know who's going to survive all this?
Uh,
What group of
oh,
people in the U.S.? Large
oh.
group? Well,
Well, crooks,
not
obviously, scammers and crooks
no,
are
but
the main beneficiaries of this.
who has a year's food supply?
Well, I think the rich people do. I mean,
Oh, who stockpiled food in their basement?
oh,
When
the
you purchase,
survivalists? You mean the preppers, the survivalists?
yeah, but what group of people has been directed to do so by God?
Oh, I don't know.
The Mormons.
Have they?
Yes.
I have not heard of that. I know
Oh,
Mormons. I know Mormons are very conservative, and I know that they have a lot of guns and stuff. I didn't know they were also stockpiling food. If they have been, that is not a bad plan.
well, it's not that they have been, they always have been.
Oh, well,
And
they were originally incredibly oppressed, right? They had to flee from state to state. So they're kind of used to being like a discriminated minority where they can't trust the government. So I can see how they would want to be prepared for like no help from the outside.
yeah, so if you go to look to buy a house in
Yeah.
Utah in like Provo,
Yeah.
one of the rooms that everybody has in their basement is the prepper room, and it is big. They're encouraged to have over a year's supply of food.
Well, that's right now,
So,
that's not a bad plan.
yeah.
And really, that's never a bad plan. Uh,
Well, a year's supply, but I don't know if they have water.
that's true. They live in pretty dry place. Yeah.
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 Well, anyway, I think
Anyway, let's
I don't
continue.
think we're going to get into a situation that dire where we don't have food or water, but I think we are going to go into a long economic recession where
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to find a job and hard to make a lot of money. And everyone, that's why I tell my students, if you have any kind of job, just hold on to it
yeah,
because the
yeah,
odds of finding another one are not good.
yeah.
Anyway, I got a few more. No,
Okay.
getting away from MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, in Making America Great Again. They've made a new. It turns out that even the universities that still have their research grants have paused funding internally because they've added a new provision to the notice of award, which says universities will be subject to liability under a Civil War statute called the False Claims Act if they fail to abide by Trump's interpretation of civil rights laws and a January 20 executive order related to gender. So this means if they do not sufficiently discriminate against Hispanic people and Black people and women, then Trump will punish them for failing to enforce his concept of civil rights, and the university is liable for that. So they are not sure they want to accept any more research money because it comes with so much legal risk, which I think I must agree with, because like all of his policies, Trump's rules about civil rights do not make any sense and they aren't consistent. And I don't think your lawyers would be able to explain to you that you're actually obeying them. So there's now a huge amount of legal risk in accepting money from the government, even if you can get
Interesting.
it.
Yeah, interesting. Huh.
And so the United Arab Emirates is recruiting U.S. personnel displaced by Doge from the military to work on AI for the military. And they got permission for that, which is interesting. And especially since they're very likely to pass that directly on to China.
Wait,
But
the UAE?
yeah, the UAE Brigadier General received permission from the Pentagon to recruit former members of the Defense Digital Service to work on artificial intelligence for them.
Okay.
So, because of course, everybody with any skill is fleeing the country um, in areas that are being cut. Although I think Doge is over. Apparently, with Elon Musk being thrown out of the Trump administration, Doge is going to just shut down and quit destroying things. So that would be nice, I guess.
I
And
see.
let's see. And that's anyway. I just mentioned the resistance continues. I'm out every Saturday protesting, and they after that big protest they had last Saturday, biggest protest in United States history, apparently. The next one is going to be July 17, a good trouble rally. So the same group that planned the No Kings group that planned the one a week ago is planning another one next month. So I think we need to keep going to these, and they need to keep getting bigger and bigger. And I see a lot of hope in the fact that Trump's birthday parade was a disaster and the rally against him was a huge success. So if the elections work out that way, we'll have a major backlash back towards sanity from all this nonsense starting in 26 and continuing in 28. It would be nice if the Democrats would actually stand up and say something instead of just being inert objects. But even if they are just inert objects, they'll probably still win. Just not being Trump is probably going to be a winning platform in 26 and 28.
Interesting. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the rural counties that voted for Trump were very, very fed up with the Democrats, but I think they have learned that Trump was not a step forward. There's demagogues
Yeah.
down through history are like this. They promise you everything, then they give you nothing, but Trump is actually going out of his way to harm all the red states that supported him. Far more than necessary, far more than he did on the first term. He just seems to be burning down his own house out of excessive pride. So anyway, the Democrats are mostly just standing there watching him do it, which is not illogical. Anyway,
Yeah. Interesting. All
that's
right. Well, let me share some stories with you.
yeah,
AI finally have a definite success story for you.
yeah.
And it's AI that's being used in education.
For what?
And in the country of Malawi, which is southern Africa,
Oh,
all the kids get Chromebooks or what appear to be Chromebooks, and their teachers are AI.
oh,
So
oh.
they
They
can
no
now
teachers. They just get taught by AI.
they get taught by AI,
Oh,
but they have a teacher or a docent that's in the room to assist. And what's incredible about this is they can scale up to 100 students per teacher.
yeah,
And we're talking younger grades. And they're learning math, they're learning language, and with an AI assistant. And if you think about how we learn, or you think about education, one of the problems that you have is students of a class of 30, say, only have about a minute or two with each for one-on-one instruction with the teacher.
yeah.
With an AI instructor, you have one-on-one all the time.
Well, that was the promise like 5 years ago. They said that would work. And if you get it working, they're right. And,
Yeah,
I think the Khan Academy, even without AI, was very successful at teaching math that way. No teacher, it's just a well-designed training platform. They've designed it like a video game.
yeah,
You learn a simple
yeah,
skill, you practice until you're getting 10 right, then you go to the next level, and that's very successful with no teacher at all in the loop at teaching math.
yeah. So what they're saying is that students are attending classes,
Yeah.
whereas before they had a larger percentage absenteeism. Students can't wait. Again, this might be propaganda, but the test scores are improving or have improved.
Well, this is why I switched all my classes to capture the flag format because I remember the problem when I went to school is that if you are relatively accomplished, it's incredibly boring because you're
Right,
held back to the level of the slowest student. They're going over boring stuff you already know. And designing a system where it's more individualized, where that doesn't happen, would be fine. I mean, there's nothing I'd rather do than go to class and learn something and
right.
do something.
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
just watch something. I want to do something. So having a sort of game you can play where we're going to learn to do this thing and you're going to practice until you got it, that would be fun. I would show up for class and be happier that way.
And it's customized for you, so you can
Yeah.
ask questions and get responses immediately
Yeah.
instead of having to wait until a teacher is available. Forget what you were thinking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what one of the promises was. That makes all sounds good.
So we'll see. Experiment and unraveling, but In America, it's no, screen time is evil. That's the worst way to learn.
Well, I
And
saw one
I,
of the SANS instructors, and he said the first thing I do is make everybody open ChatGPT and say, while I'm lecturing, you see anything you're interested in, you have a question, first ask ChatGPT and only ask me if that's not a good answer, or if you think of something else. And then he said,
yeah,
encouraged everybody to do exactly this, have your personal AI helping you. That seems like a
yeah,
fine policy for advanced tech people. I don't know about kids in grade school, but for advanced tech people, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense because everybody's coming with a different level of knowledge and different expertise.
And they're all sort of self-motivated and they're to learn something relevant to them. Now, the problem I found in American education is a bunch of students do not want to be there at all. They're being forced to take this class. They don't even want to learn it. Somebody made them take an English class or a history class and they don't care. And that's like people in prison. You get a lot of passive resistance. And I don't know if AI can help with that. That's kind of a poorly designed education system. Now, what I hear is Montessori schools do not do that. They put the students in teams and they say, why don't you people find a project you want to do and work together to accomplish the project? And I'll help you find like the right reference materials. That would seem to be a much better way to teach people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other problem is the software that's used in education in the United States is pretty bad.
Well, stuff like Canvas and stuff is, but I mean, that's right. The AIs are available and they're plenty good here.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the education that taught preschoolers
Oh,
or older has been really bad. The commercial
oh.
software that parents buy.
Okay. I
Like,
didn't know. When I did it, there was no computers at that level, so I don't know what happens.
yeah. So, Sam, do you remember AI Einstein, or no, what was it called? Einstein for Kids?
No.
So this was a set of CDs, I think, or cassette tapes. We're going back that far.
Hmm.
And it was called, I can't remember Einstein, but you're supposed to play it to your kid while in the womb, and your kid would be a lot smarter.
Oh, I remember people playing classical music to kids in the womb and claiming it would make them benefit them.
Ah,
I don't know if any
just
of it's
came to
true.
me. It was called Baby Einstein.
That sounds too good to be true. I assume that's all garbage. I don't know.
Of course, it was garbage,
Yeah, well, it does sound like garbage.
but
Actually,
I
playing
think,
classical music might possibly be more soothing, I suppose, but I don't think they're going to learn anything intellectual in the womb. I would assume their brain is not ready for that yet.
yeah, and you have no idea if they're able to hear what's going on.
Well, yeah, but
But
if it calms down the mother, then she might put like less stress hormones on the baby or something. I could see that.
oh my gosh, Sam, I'm looking. It looks like available on Amazon. It is.
I'm surprised they don't have a pill you take to insert knowledge into your brain. That's just been a science fiction staple for decades. Somebody's
Yeah.
probably selling that.
Yeah. Interesting. I think they got rid of the CDs, DVDs, but that was advertised on TV, kind
Yeah.
of like the pillow guy.
Yeah, I remember there was a company that had video games that were supposed to make you smarter, Lumosity or something.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one thing I noticed, I reported a whole lot of vulnerabilities at that time to companies, and they're the only one that actually gave me a bounty and then asked me to please shut up for 30 days while I fixed it. Out of hundreds of companies I notified, they're the only one smart enough to say that. So I said,
Really?
maybe their game has made them smarter. I don't know. But they were smarter than the other companies in that regard at that time.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I got some tech stuff. Well, you might be the
Okay.
expert on this one. So some guy wanted to gather all these old data from all his old hard drives and CDs and everything. So he put it all on OneDrive, and then he was going to put it all on like a big new computer or something. And when he put it on OneDrive, Microsoft froze his OneDrive, locked him out, and he lost it all. And he can't reach anybody at Microsoft to get back in. So he assumes something triggered some kind of detector. It was copyrighted or malicious or something. And so Microsoft locked his OneDrive account, but they won't tell him why, and there's no way to recover it. And this, of course, is the same thing we've all had. If you are not paying for the product, then they can just turn it off at any time. Like me, I'm using YouTube, and YouTube has threatened to just cancel me. In the past, they haven't done it in the last couple of years, but the fact is, a lot of people make their living on YouTube, and yet YouTube will just pull the plug on you like that, and there's nobody you can reach, no appeal. They won't even tell you why. There's nothing you can do. That's the problem. If you're not paying for it, it can vanish at any moment. And apparently, Microsoft OneDrive is the same. So, in case anybody had any illusions, be aware of when you use a free service, you use it at your own risk.
Well, I think you have a maximum of 5 gigs
Oh, no,
on
you had a lot
OneDrive.
more than that. I know for a while they had unlimited storage in OneDrive, and you could have got grandfathered into that.
Well, if you had unlimited storage, they put an end to that because somebody was updating or uploading every video,
Yeah.
every DVD that they had.
Yep.
So
Well, that's
yeah,
essentially what this guy was doing. It was a lot of data,
yeah,
and now he's lost it all. And that's why they said, in principle, you should never have done this with a single point of failure anyway. You should
true.
have put it all somewhere. You shouldn't have erased your originals until you copied it somewhere else. But he did.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so,
Okay.
uh, and then there's another new Microsoft feature, which is real hard for me to understand. Microsoft is now testing PC to cloud PC failover. For those times when your machine dies or disappears, for up to 10 days a year, you can use a cloud PC instead. And this service seems to, and therefore, this must involve frequent data syncing to the cloud. And they haven't disclosed the price of this yet. This is a little hard to grasp. But I guess if you lose your laptop on an airplane, then you could resume by just connecting to a cloud instance. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. I know my consulting, mostly people want me to just use a cloud instance right from the start, and that's what I prefer rather than having a company laptop.
Yeah. So, if you go into a foreign country,
Yeah.
I suppose with a VPN, you don't have to take any of your data or applications.
Yeah.
You could literally take a Chromebook
Well, but
and
but that would be if you just had it in the cloud all the time, which is fine. But here, you only get 10 days a year of it, so it's only for emergencies or something. That part I don't quite see why that's valuable, but and they're constantly syncing it somehow, apparently. So you're working on your laptop, and yet if it's gone, you'll find all your data all stored in the cloud correctly. So it's a little screwy.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't quite understand that one. Um,
So here, usually what happens is there's a customer that requests a feature
yeah.
and is willing to pay Microsoft for that feature.
Yeah. Well, apparently they're thinking of selling this widely. So apparently there's a
Okay.
significant number of customers that need it. And maybe there are corporate customers. Maybe this
Yeah.
is a anyway, so there was a thing called Serpentine Cloud, which is malware. And this was interesting. I learned two new interesting features from this. This malware connects through a Cloudflare tunnel through TriCloudflare, and then it executes in-memory malicious code without touching the disk and gives attackers long-term access to the pwn machines. So I looked into technology, and I want to write both of these up as projects. Cloudflare has had this thing called Cloudflare tunnels for a while, but you had to have a public domain. But not anymore. Now there's a thing called TriCloudflare where you can make a free tunnel through one of their domains without having your own domain. So that's what the bad guys are abusing. They call it an Argo tunnel. And the point of this is I might want to run servers at home that my students can access from the internet, but I don't want to expose my home network to direct connections from the outside. So you use Cloudflare tunnels, and now they can log in through Cloudflare and access your internal resources without directly exposing any ports to the internet. So it
Hmm.
should be a lot more safe. I wanted to try it for a while, and now I know you can do it for free. I'm going to have to set it up. And the packer that they use for this malware is called the Donut Packer, which I looked into. The Donut Packer will pack up your VBScript, JScript, EXE, DIL files, or .NET programs so that they run entirely in memory without ever touching the disk. So I'd like to learn how that works and start playing with that.
Hmm.
So those are interesting technologies and currently being used to make malware harder to detect. So they belong in my malware analysis class. So I'll try and write them up and add them there.
Yeah. So Sam, have you been following the Microsoft AI,
Not really. I know they were
Open
partnering with
AI?
Open. They were partnering with OpenAI, and then after a while, they decided to give you a choice of many different AIs because a partnership with OpenAI seems to be less secure.
Yeah. Well, apparently they're not getting along so well, kind of like Doge and Trump and Elon.
Well, they were for at one point they were going to actually take over and buy all the people, but then OpenAI is going its own way. It makes sense,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
right now Microsoft is betting so much of their company on their AI products, and it's not working. And OpenAI is running a loss leader, and they still don't have a real way to make money. So I think both of them are beginning to feel the pinch. and trying to find some way to like make more money and balance the books, which is going to be hard for both of them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Aaron, I got a couple more stories. So
And so,
23andMe data.
right.
Have you been following that?
I know they went broke, but now the original owner bought it back. So that means the data doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, so I think she was offering $100 million for the data, is the source I was given number.
And that was the largest bid, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it's not the entire genome, but there's a lot of data. And there's when you filled out or when you submitted your data to 23andMe, that also include your phenotype, which are your physical features, as well as your genotype,
Hmm.
which are your genes, which could have recessive,
How did you
which
submit your physical features with photographs or
with a
something?
questionnaire.
What the question is going to ask you about your health problems or something?
I didn't do it, but I'm assuming it says what's your eye color, and you put in
Oh,
blue or whatever.
well,
Um,
as far as I know, the only actual valid use of that data is for like racist purges, like the Holocaust. Maybe for medical research. I mean,
no, for medical research, if you have the phenotype and the genotype, because the phenotype is what's expressed
well,
from the
I think the
genotype.
Kaiser database would be far more valuable. And it's used for a ton of medical research for that reason. They actually know a lot about people over a period of decades. So that's the basis of a lot of medical research.
Yeah, yeah. I, we
Yeah,
don't know. We
yeah,
don't know, but it
yeah.
was worth $100 million to someone.
Yeah, and as far as I know, the only use is to sell these services where they send you like a profile of your background, which is really not much different than like a tarot card reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So we got
Yeah,
23andMe.
yeah,
And then you were talking about RFK Jr.
yeah.
and the attack on fluorine and
Ah, yes.
Utah,
Fluoride. Yeah.
fluoride, sorry, fluoride. So Utah and Florida have
Right.
banned fluoride
Right.
being added to drinking water.
Right. Saying you can buy supplements if you want to, which I don't know if that's true, but that's the idea. If you really want fluoride, you should like buy it and put it in yourself.
Yeah. So there is a podcast that has talked about this. It was just released.
Yeah.
It's called This Podcast Will Kill You. It's Fluoride Part One, The Real Tooth Fairy. And Part Two is Fluoride Two, Fighting Tooth and Nail, I think it's decay.
So they sound
And
like
what,
they're pro fluoride.
well, they're physicians who are
Right.
explaining the research and why we know that adding fluoride is beneficial.
Right.
And it's an interesting story, but the one thing that they brought up that no one has brought up is fluorine, which is where fluoride, which is the element
Yeah.
that doesn't occur naturally in the earth, but it's combined with other elements like calcium. You ready for this? I didn't realize this. 13th most abundant element in the Earth's crust
Is fluorine? Oh,
is
yeah.
fluorine.
I do know, I think fluoride was originally like a waste product from some kind of mining or something. And that's
I
why, it was some people saw it as a scam for that regard. It was like tricking you into like putting a waste product in your water. And also, apparently, at very high doses, it does actually have some bad effect.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and there's some areas where the high doses are naturally occurring in
Yeah.
water. However, you ready for this? How much water do you need to drink to overdose on fluoride every day?
Well, it depends on how much fluoride there is in the water. But I mean, ordinary American fluoridated water, I assume we're not even getting 10% of the dangerous dose. I hope not.
Yeah, we're not even close. You have to continually drink 8 liters of water per day.
8 liters is not that much. You could drink 8 liters. Trump
No,
probably drinks that many Diet Cokes. I mean, how many cans to a liter? Like two or three cans? There's people that drink,
you
two
you
six
you
packs of
become
beer. That's a
you
lot of,
become yeah you become water intoxicated.
right. I know the
With
water itself will kill you at some point. That's two
right.
gallons a day. Uh, that's not. That's 2 gallons a day, right? Liters a quart. I don't think 2 gallons a day is an impossible amount to drink at all. I was hoping for a much bigger number.
Well, there was a radio station in Sacramento, just north of Sacramento, that had a contest where they gave away an Xbox,
Yeah.
and it was who could drink a gallon of water the quickest. And the woman who won wound up killing herself.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you drink it too fast, but I think in the course
Yeah.
of a day, drinking a gallon is not that rare at all.
Well, you're normally told to drink 8 cups of water,
Oh,
which
that's
there's no medical basis behind that, by the way.
right. And that's 4 liters, or is it 4 cups to a liter or 2 cups to a liter?
That I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm surprised. I was hoping you were going to say 100 gallons.
I might be off on that, but that's
Yeah.
the number I seem to recall.
Yeah. Well, if so, then there probably is some justice in wondering if the dosage is like 10% of what's considered harmful, then you'd want to take a careful look and make sure you're right about that, that it's not doing any harm at that level. I can see that.
Yeah, so a
However,
couple
preventing
couple
tooth
of
cavities is not a small benefit.
yeah, yeah. And what's interesting about this is that they found that applying the fluoride directly to the tooth
Yeah.
or drinking it both have benefits.
Hmm.
So taking it in water or food. And by the way, you can get fluorine or fluoride for your teeth in a lot of foodstuffs.
Ah, yeah.
So,
Well, anyway, it'd be nice if we had actual legitimate medical scientists looking into this, but that's not what's going to happen.
yeah, well, we do, and the research is clear.
Yeah.
And whatever it's been, 100 years of adding fluoride to water has also been clear.
Yeah. Well, good.
So we'll see where this winds up. But if you're interested on the history of why fluorine, how it was discovered to be beneficial, but
Mhm.
there's no question in any dentist's mind, or I should say any legitimate dentist's mind.
Oh, good. Well, I got a few more tech ones. The National Institute of Standards has put out SP 1800-35 implementing a zero trust architecture, which is pretty dense and complicated with a whole bunch of different services you have to set up. But anyway, this is something I guess we're all going to have to learn and understand. The official
Okay.
federal government way to implement zero trust, which has been sort of a vaguely defined goal for a while now. Now they've really put some teeth in it. So my anybody who wants to meet government standards is going to have to start absorbing this, and man, it's pretty complicated. So and then I just was reminded about Run Zero. Have you used this?
Not lately.
I never.
Uh,
Run Zero is HD Moore's product. And he's going to be on Pulse Security Weekly next week to talk about it. And I want to hear about it because it sees and secures your total attack surface. So it's something like continuous vulnerability scanning and management. And it sounds like a powerful defensive technique if it works. And H.D. Moore, who wrote Metasploit, he's very good. So if he's developing it, I imagine it's very good and it works. So I'd like to see it. It's a defense product of some kind, and I'd like to see it.
okay.
I don't have any. Here's a good story. This guy rented a BMW from Sixt, and he tried to connect with his phone. And he found out that there was a previous person's profile in there, but he was able to delete that and connect it to his phone. And then he was able to control it completely from his phone. So when he returned the car, he said, "Hey, I connected that to my phone." And they said, "Never mind, we're going to wipe it." And they didn't wipe it. So now he can still control the car. He can turn on location tracking. He can remotely lock and unlock. He can turn the lights on and off. He can turn the horn on and off of somebody else driving the car. So this is another issue which I imagine a lot of car rental agencies do not understand. This reminds me of the one about 15 years ago when all the people that rent copiers didn't understand that the copier has a hard drive. It remembers all of your previous guy's copies and you have to wipe it. Or Amazon. When Amazon Web Service first came out, they would give you a virtual machine and it would have the previous guy's data on it. This is another issue of cleaning a device before handing it off to the next person that is apparently not understood well enough. So, uh, and then there's the one I love. I just came out about a Pulse Security podcast. So there's Nmap. Nmap's just a scanning tool with a bunch of command line options that can be confusing. You can,
Right.
you can run an LLM or you can connect to a cloud LLM and you can give an LLM the control of Nmap. And then you can give it commands like, what services are running on 192.168.8.3? Gather as much information as you can and identify any security issues or items of interest to a security analyst. You can give it an English command like that, and it will run Nmap for you and do that. So I want to try,
Really?
I want to set this up and see it go. I want to see what it'll do if I give it Metasploit. I I think this could be a big leap forward. Our hacking tools could be taking voice commands in normal English to some extent. And you could be running a local LLM, so it's not as big of a security risk in that regard. Of course, it is a security risk in that it probably will make mistakes running the tools, but your humans are probably making mistakes too. I think this will probably be pretty exciting for my pen testing students if it works. So I'm going to get it going and see how it goes.
I see. So,
And
Sam, I
yeah,
just did a little fact checking here on
yeah.
myself, and I'm mistaken on the fluoride.
Ah,
So it turns out, I'm not sure why I came up with eight. It turns out to be 120 gallons
good.
in one day.
That's what I was hoping. So you're not
Yeah,
even taking like 1% of a dangerous dose under normal conditions.
no. And the optimal dose is 7 parts per million
Yeah.
or 7 milligrams per liter,
Right.
or pardon me, zero point 0.7.
Right, right. That makes sense. I mean, that's why when you distribute something through everybody's water in the whole country, you want to be sure it's really safe. I got in big trouble when I did medical
Yeah.
research to this. There was a guy doing research where he was exposing his patients to really bright lights, and they were complaining. And I said, "What's the threshold where it does permanent damage to your eyes?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. It's up there somewhere." I said, "Wait a minute. You ought to know damn sure that it's like way above where you are." And you're not getting anywhere near it, or this is unethical research. And they didn't appreciate me saying that. But it's the same feeling here. If you're going to put this in everybody's water, you better be far below the toxic level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so apparently
Yeah.
here's one I didn't know. And
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
have a Tesla charger, you can take over the house network through the charger because the charger has the ability to update its firmware from a connection through the charging port, and you can trick it into uploading malicious firmware. And then
Wait, run this by me again.
you
Let's try.
connect a device as if it was a car to the charger.
Ah,
You
I
then
see.
get it to update the charger firmware from your device.
Got it.
You exploit that firmware. Now you can take over the home network the charger's connected to. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, meaning you have to have physical access.
Yeah, you take some kind of computer and plug it physically into the charger, and then you take over the charger network. This reminds me of the people that took over Google's app security platform. Google has a thing where you propose a new app to go into the Google App Store, Android
Yeah,
app. They run it through some kind of automated test. So people figured out, well, that automated test is running in a virtual machine. So they made malware, which took over that virtual machine. And then they were able to remote control it and go into Google's internal network and take over stuff.
I see.
It's a
I
similar
see.
thing. This is one I talked about a few weeks ago, is similar. If you want to take over somebody's OneDrive or somebody's Microsoft 365, you can send them an email with malicious LLM prompt injections. And when Microsoft uh, Office 365, whatever their AI product is, Copilot 365, reads that email, it will execute your commands. So in anything that takes stuff in from the outside is part of your attack surface if you don't like carefully sanitize it and limit what it can do. And
Okay.
all right, so an AWS announces that they have now made 100% multi-factor enforcement for root users on all of their services. I'm not using AWS because it's too expensive, but this is actually, they're right, this is a really good idea. Nobody should have root service to any cloud account with root access without multi-factor authentication. But it would be difficult to convince all your customers to do that, but it sounds like that's what they've done. And that's great. I hope they set a standard. This reminds me of when Google went to 100% HTTPS, and that shamed everybody else into doing it. Now that Amazon has done it, hopefully it'll shame Azure and Google Cloud and everybody into doing the same thing.
Got it.
And the last one is, you remember this Chinese model DeepSeek that rocked the boat? by being very good and much cheaper than the other LLMs. There's another one called Minimax M1, which is the new hotness from China. And they say it's even better. It's a reasoning model and very fast and very cheap and 100% open source. Apparently, DeepSeek was on one of those somewhat restrictive licenses, but this one's 100% open source. The thing I've noticed, however, is it's not yet included in Olama, so I can't easily run it locally. But you can download something from their GitHub page and get it running. So that's important and something to look into because DeepSeek is very good. And this new one is supposed to be even better, Minimax M1.
I see.
That'll be the new AI hotness.
We'll see, right, Sam?
Yeah,
We'll
well,
see.
well, DeepSeek rocked the boat. It changed, made people more less reluctant to build those huge data centers in America. You know, it really upended the heavy iron LLM developments in America, and this one may do the same thing. So that's all I got.
All right, that's all I have too.
All right, so we'll have another one of these on Tuesday.
Tuesday, exactly.